All right, welcome back. We are in Atlanta, Georgia, the official 2025 NRTCCA conference. I got Motorola with me, Mr. Jim Wolfinbarger.
That's right.
Make sure I said it right.
It's a good one.
Not Wolf Burgers.
Yeah.
I like Wolf Burgers.
It's not bad.
It works fine for me. Sir, before we get started, I want you to give a little bit about your background prior to all of this.
You bet. So I'm a Territory Vice President for Motorola. I lead our North American Command Central Aware sales for Motorola Solutions. So before I came to Motorola, I've been here about 12 years now. I worked a career in the Colorado State Patrol, up from cadet and trooper and above, worked through every rank. Last 4 years of my career, I was appointed by the governor to lead the Colorado State Patrol as the chief of the Colorado State Patrol. So, incredibly wonderful career within the agency. Definitely shed a lot of light on what we're doing now. Most especially all of us and a lot of your audience that's out there. Everyone has events through the course of their career that really defined their perspective moving ahead in life. You know, you have those consequential events that occur. And for me, you know, the real first one was April 20th of 1999 at Columbine High School. You know, remember sitting there as a corporal working in the office in the north part of Denver, and I heard the mutual aid channel with a lot of chatter that was very excited, very strange and different. Definitely something I turned up. Shots fired at Columbine High School, which is a high school immediately adjacent to my high school at Green Mountain that I graduated at, exact same floor plan as my high school. And I remember driving over to there and thinking through this idea about an active shooter in a school at the time was something none of us had been through. It was so foreign in terms of this idea or notion. Spent the better part of the first 24 hours at Columbine and reflected. And, you know, I had a 1-year-old son at the time. Definitely puts into perspective, you know, that notion around readiness, response, intelligence, and data. And then secondarily, like all of us, have good memory, sadly, of the day of 9/11. And I, too, was a captain in the patrol. And, you know, thinking through 9/11, all the events leading up to that, and certainly the 9/11 Commission coming out of it, which put a bright focus on some of the failures in government that existed. And one of the primary areas of failure for 9/11 was really focused on this idea about government's inability to be able to connect disparate data elements together to form a more comprehensive picture of the AOR. To ensure that they can see more at a macro level what's happening within the jurisdiction, in this case, the U.S.
Yeah.
You know, this failure to connect intelligence elements together, not out of malfeasance, but really out of just volume. So there's a person named Herbert Simon, who is kind of the founding father of modern day AI. Believe it or not, this was in 1971. And one of the things that Herbert Simon is attributed towards, and I like this, is that a wealth of information can lead to a poverty of attention. So saying that again, a wealth of information can lead to a poverty of attention. You think about this idea in 1971, realizing that. In 2011, it certainly came into focus around the recap of the 9/11, what led to it. But today I would suggest to all of us, and really the nature of this entire conference, is how to be able to manage a deluge of data while maintaining focus and being effective at what people are doing is really the key to this. And my deep appreciation for the NRTCCA,
It's a long name.
leadership in this space. And I think it's the right time and the right place.
I agree. And I like that quote because that's what we're running into today. Just like when we had Mahesh on here and we were talking about just the sheer volume of data. Like cases are getting thrown out because good defense attorneys are seeing that and they're like, oh, you're hiding evidence. They know that's not the case, but they get to use that card because we cannot keep up with the volume of data that we have.
Yeah, it's 100% right. And you think about, you know, even 10 years ago, 20 years ago, but even 10 years ago, case files, when you did discovery to the DA, oftentimes were delivered in hard copy in a big folder with everything in it. Might be DVDs, there could have been audio files, but it's all in there.
Yeah.
You think about today the amount or the volume of data, including all of the metadata, the sensors, the video, which are all part of a discovery package, is much more voluminous. And it does require a different perspective and context to be able to ensure that you have holistic and complete evidence capture to be able to protect the viability of the evidence within each case. The importance about that is clear to each of you within your agencies is that it's that public trust that's built within your agency that you owe it to your community, to your constituency, and most especially to the victims, that you have a repeatable package that can be delivered time and time again, irrespective of the volume. And it has to build the faith and confidence in that. And at Motorola, we've really been working at getting that right.
And you guys have an advantage having you there because you were a cop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It definitely helps to have a perspective, right, where you
Yes.
can marry somebody, like you marry this union of institutional knowledge about the importance of the criminal justice process when brought into focus and intersection with technology.
Yes.
And so Motorola has been very good at listening first and acting later. You know, what we see, and I love floors like this where you get to see the art of what's possible.
Yes.
You get to walk around the floor and see unbelievable innovations. I think one of the things I'm proud of with Motorola especially is not only are we heavily investing in innovations, we spent nearly $1 billion last year alone in research and development of making sure that the work that we're doing to connect the disparate aspects of our overall ecosystem are brought together. But we do so through a lens of understanding the constraints that our customers deal with regarding your responsibility to adhere to the Constitution, to the state's Constitution, to local ordinances, and the responsibilities of exercising and deploying technology in a government setting is much different than in a private setting or any of us at home. So we understand that very much and approach technology solutions with that framework in mind.
Right. And I'm glad you brought up the Constitution because we've sworn oath to it. You did as a cop. It doesn't end just because you're retired.
Right.
And the same with me. I've sworn it twice now, military and police.
Yeah.
And, I that's one of the vessels that I use for the NRTCCA is making sure that that's kind of our mission focus is making sure we're following the Constitution and having the conversations with these companies like Motorola and saying, hey, like you guys are doing it. Like we just had a conversation about assist and how you guys were keeping it internal and making sure that it isn't getting outside the realm and being that big brother and all that stuff. So you guys taking the steps to get ahead of that game is amazing, and it makes cops like me, sleep a little better because I know I'm not overstepping, and you guys have already taken the steps to help me out.
Yeah. It's funny because you brought that up about assist. And, one of the things that when I sat on the other side of the table from a customer perspective, and I would have a vendor come up to me and say, hey, Chief, what keeps you up at night?
Yeah.
As much as that question was kind of corny, the answer is true, that it's not the thing most people on the outside of the job think it is. They're concerned about, the weapons that are on police officers, the cars and emergency response driving that they do. Look, those are known risks, and law enforcement is particularly good at managing and mitigating those risks through a series of good hiring, effective hiring, good supervision, sound policy, and holding one another to account, right? That we can mitigate those risks. But the truth is, when I thought about the things that kept me up at night, it really was the things that I didn't know that were within the constraints or confines of my evidence and my data.
Yeah.
And my concern constantly as a chief was, do the men and women on the front lines of this agency that are out working the road, the men and women behind dispatch console, do they have access to the appropriate information? And today, inside of a real-time center, do they have immediate access to applicable and contextually relevant data in order to make the best decision possible?
Yeah.
And it's getting more and more complicated to make sure they have that. Assist Chat for me is a tool, for instance, and Mahesh talked about it, where we have a digital assistant called Vicky, similar to whether it's Siri or if it's Alexa, but Vicky will serve as the conduit for young police officers, young sheriff's deputies, young troopers to be able to have a digital assistant with them at 3 a.m. when they need information to make an important decision, and they do the best job that they can. It makes sure that we level them up, giving them the best data, the best law references to be able to make informed decisions that are defensible and repeatable in a way to help extend careers and be able to extend public trust in the institution of law enforcement.
That's awesome. So Vicky, huh?
Yeah.
What made you decide with Vicky?
It's not an acronym, but it's a name.
Okay.
VIQI, Vicky.
Okay.
And it's unbelievable. I think about some things like whether it's DFR or drone detection. You look at things that make you feel like you're in the Jetsons or in the 22nd century.
Yeah.
But yet at the same point, fundamentally, all of us as human beings need access to information to make good decisions.
Yeah.
And I think technology should serve the means of surfacing insights and giving first responders the information they need to make sound decisions.
Agreed.
Amen.
Agreed. So you're here. We've talked about assist. You talked a little bit about R&D. Now, I try this with every single company that comes in here. So tell me what you can. Tell me if you can't. What is something that's coming that we don't know about yet? Is there something? There's something out. You guys are always working on something. Make me excited. I want to know something else.
I think it's the intersection of a lot of the things that we talked about. So Apex Next in our N series, smart radios that today, in terms of being able to extend your radio and communications capability outside of your own network, to be able to use Wi-Fi backhaul and other ways of ensuring constant connectivity.
Okay.
When we look at something like the Boston Marathon bombing, fundamentally that punching out of most LTE during a key event, whether it was the 1 October shooting, whether it was a number of different events, not being solely dependent on a single form of communication, but voice communication is one of the most important and critical aspects of informed emergency response. So sometimes it's taking a step back and making sure first and foremost that we've built in bulletproof, mission critical voice communication, and then layering it with all of this goodness we've been seeing outside, but Mahesh talked about this idea of fixed video security and access control, drones as a first responder. 911 today sits at this intersection and precipice of some of the most revolutionary changes in technology with next generation core services and some of the areas around voice transcription, voice translation, AI application into 911. Motorola brought on a company called Rapid Deploy, and Rapid Deploy does precise 911 voice communication for exact position of that 911 call as soon as send is pressed.
Okay.
And it's the idea about how much information in that compressed period of time between send and between dispatch that we can save those seconds to inform a response in a way that I think is going to change public safety.
Okay.
I'm incredibly excited about that.
Okay. Well, you as a former cop, if it gets you pumped up, it's going to get me pumped up. So I look forward to that. Well, awesome, sir. Well, I like to end it with this. Is there anything that we haven't got out there for you that you want to get out for the people that may come next year or that are already out here?
Well, first, it's an incredible show. I encourage everybody to come to Phoenix next year. And I want to thank everybody personally for the work and sacrifice that each of you give to your agencies and to your communities, and a special thanks and appreciation to your families that pay that sacrifice of being without you while you're out working the road and doing God's work. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Well, sir, we're going to have some fun the rest of this week. I'm going to see you out here, I'm sure, for the rest of the time. So I appreciate your time. Motorola we got two big names out here today from Motorola, so it doesn't happen too often for me. So I'm very pumped. Thank you for honoring the show, and can't wait to see what you guys got going on this year.
Excellent. Love
Appreciate
it.
brother.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Yes, sir. Take it easy.
All right.